Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leathertainment Studio Podcast. I am Tanner Leatherstein, your host. We have a special guest today, Sackett Wood of Moore Giles. He has been in leather industry with a very long history with his company, doing a bunch of different aspects of leather business. And we're gonna talk about the journey of leather, starting from rawhide to the end product with him today, because he has a good experience with one of the slaughtery houses in Virginia that I came across when watching one of their videos, and that's why we wanted to reach out and have him on the show. Saket, thank you for being here with us today. Would you like to start with introducing yourself and your company a little bit?
Sure. And thank you, Vulcan. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And thank you for your advocacy of the leather industry. We need more people like you out there. So we appreciate that. Again, my name is Sackett Wood. I'm the CEO of Moore Giles. I've been here since 1990. Moore Giles was started in 1933. We come from an old footwear town here in Lynchburg. Lynchburg was the second largest producer of American footwear 100 years ago. And they had 14 factories around here. And in 1933, one of those gentlemen's name was Don Moore, and he got laid off at one of the factories downtown, which is now a boutique hotel in our city. And he started the company as a finder of footwear material. So for the next 55, 60 years, we sold anything that went into a shoe as a sort of a manufacturer's representative for different companies in the United States. So that would be things like glue and nails and thread and laces and counters and heels and bottoms and shoe boxes, polyurethane, adhesive, leather being one of those as well. But just to make a long story short, as the shoe business sort of dried up, all 14 factories closed around here. They went bankrupt. The cheaper labor in Brazil and China just caught up with us. And the company sort of had to pivot in the early 90s and sort of reinvent itself. And we started out selling sort of cheaper upholstery leather along with a bunch of other things, just to sort of make ends meet for a while. And then realized that was sort of a commoditized product. It was a race to the bottom in terms of price. And we really looked around in the other markets and where leather was a more elevated material. In upholstery, it was sort of a cold, perfected, sort of sterile material by and large. And we took our inspiration from those other markets and came out with a very, what we would call natural leather. We would say we are natural leather people, that our whole design aesthetic is not how much we need to do to the leather, but how little we can do it to keep it intact and make what is beautiful about it sort of very visual, soft, all of those things. And so we had very good success early on with what I would call an unconventional leather at the time. Probably didn't meet all of the upholstery specifications but we knew that it looked good, it felt good. We knew it would wear in beautifully over time. And we had lots of little hurdles along the way, but it was a very successful at probably the 1996 furniture market in High Point. And it sort of put us on a path to where we are today. And so really following that, we put real color into the line, injected a lot of different colors, and sort of understood how leather could work with other materials in the web of good design, and with carpet and paint and wall covering, and be a more cohesive material. It used to have, you had 5 colors of leather and that was it. It was in this part of the room, and now it became a much more interactive material with other products. We expanded into hospitality, aviation, we do automotive restoration. Wow. And then we started a lifestyle line in 2007 that sort of was our ability to sort of express what we loved creatively about really interesting leathers, wherever they were from, on bags, accessories, and most recently, we've added furniture to that line as well. So that's the short, brief history of Moore Giles.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that with me. And it's a great story because the company been through all aspects of leather, from a side material supplier to shoe industry, from leather seller and then becoming a decoration design business. Basically touched every aspect of leather, which is a super diverse material. We make shoes with it, we make couches, sofas, we make airplane seats with it, and we can even make decoration with it. So such a durable and versatile material nature gives us. And one other thing you said, and I saw that on you guys' website, you guys use that minimally finished leathers, which I love and preach on every video I can make. because that's the true beauty coming from nature. We just accentuate it, but not touching too much to it, and then bring it to the forefront of every product. So nature's design shines. I think that's the way true leather lovers enjoy leather, and you guys are really representing that. I love that service you guys doing to the industry and the leather enthusiast.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful. So I heard this story when I was watching the video you guys made with the Seven Hills meat processing plant in Virginia. I think, if I'm not wrong, he was saying that for quite a while they were sending their rawhides to landfills because nobody was buying it, nobody was taking it. And that's such a sad story. This is huge resource byproduct being generated because of the meat production they're running there, but the leather is not being leveraged. And after that, you guys made a partnership, and now these leathers are being made into products. Can you start with that? Like, what was that story? I would like to share that with my audience, because most of the time people hear this animals are killed for their leathers thing in the market. It's exactly the opposite. Sometimes we are not quick enough or efficient enough to collect all the leathers generated by the meat industry to make something out of it. I think it would be a good example to share here.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for that. And I'll be glad to talk about that story, but I would certainly dispel the myth that animals are killed for their hides. I mean, if people are listening around the world to this, have learned anything from this, that's just simply false. We can go into that later. Um, but our purpose statement of the company says we believe in creating a purpose and a use for every hide on earth. It's a grand purpose statement. Never will be achieved, but we can always strive for it. And we say it a lot where we go, because we believe there's value in every hide. But here in our own backyard in Lynchburg, Virginia, we went down and saw there was a local entrepreneur here named Ryan Ford, who came from Charlottesville and opened up an old abattoir slaughterhouse that had been probably vacant for the last 30 or 40 years. It's probably a 100-year-old company that closed in the late 80s or somewhere around there. And, he's providing fresh local Black Angus beef to grocery chains, high-end restaurants all over the state of Virginia. And they had these hides in the back of his truck, and I said, "Oh, who's taking your hides?" He's like, "Nobody's taking my hides." I'm like, "What do you do with them?" He says, "We pay these people to come get them and throw them in the Lynchburg landfill." And it just was like, right in my face that here it is. Easy thing to do. Easy thing to do would be to say, "That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that," and walk away. The harder thing to do is say, "What can we do about this?" And so we collaborated with them and with a U.S. tannery, with Herman Oak Tanning in St. Louis. Told Shep Herman, the CEO of Herman Oak, our story, that we wanted to find a use for these hides, and he had a very full tannery and busy, but he liked the story and put us in. And so we are trying to create as much as we can demand for 100% of these hides. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. So probably 2 years ago, we came out with a line of bags and accessories, and in some furniture, in some cases, that shows this leather. So you can, I just brought in a bag. You can see this is the weekend bag in one of them here. You can see.
Perfect.
My wallet, my belt, all are from Seven Hills, and we're looking at expanding this line with another tanner partner, and in the fourth quarter of 2024, coming out with a much broader line that will helpfully create the demand for these hides. So that's the short, brief history of it. It's not easy.
No, it's not. Yeah, I want to talk about that part too, because now, we see the leather, but we don't know how it gets there. So these people are throwing raw hides because nobody's taking it, for valid reasons, of course. Maybe it's not justifiable from a cost standpoint, maybe time or the drive length, logistics doesn't work. So how difficult it is, like what kind of challenges you guys had to go over when doing this partnership?
The first thing I would say is that the easy thing to do is to throw them away.
Yeah.
It's easy. Just
Easiest,
go throw
cheapest,
them
yeah.
away. Cheapest, probably. The hard thing to do, because he's a small aggregator, and so Certainly in the United States, 100 years ago, there were tanneries everywhere up in the Northeast, up in Johnstown, really all over the country, and that has shrunk a lot. So, finding a ready market for a small aggregator is not easy. So we've had to connect the dots a little bit, and this is going to continue to be a problem because they don't have enough to fill a container that they can export to England or to Asia. And so, we're finding, in smaller quantities, we partnered with the abattoir to buy a fleshing machine. All the hides, after the takeoff, you need to flesh them to get all of the excess fat off them and everything. So we partnered with them to buy this machine. We're doing that, and then we're thinking creatively about how to get these hides in the most efficient way possible, in the most cost-effective way possible to St. Louis, salted and ready to go. And we're getting better and better at that. It's just a matter of time. We're doing that with another company in South Dakota, in Rapid City, South Dakota, called the Wild Idea Buffalo Company, where we're taking some of their hides, and that's even more of a challenge because those are field harvested one at a time, and how do you collect enough of them to get to the tannery? But the reality is, and the truth is, that once you get them there, and once you make something, you look at yourself and say, was this worthwhile? And the answer is unequivocally yes.
Absolutely. So
Otherwise, you waste.
people talk about this circular economy, carbon footprint these days, and they're trying to say, sometimes they're even outright claiming it, plastic or PU or fake leather alternatives is better because leather has so much carbon footprint. And whenever I check these calculation metrics, I realize they don't look at the whole picture from a material standpoint, from the birth of the material, from the end of the life and decomposition of that material on Earth. But once we look at it from that standpoint, the whole thing changes. That is sneaky and smart calculations don't show the whole picture. So now we're looking at these raw hides that are already there, and biggest part of the carbon footprint they calculate on leather is coming from the animal's life, raising that animal. But the point they don't account is animal is not raised for that leather. This is a perfect example. In fact, the leather is going to trash because it's difficult to deal with. But the carbon footprint already is done, and it's going to be done because people keep eating meat. Now, you taking it and making that beautiful bag, beautiful wallet and belt, you're eliminating the need for, I don't know, maybe at least 5, 10 plastic alternative wallets or belts or bags, because what you did is going to outlast any and all of them. Am I right here?
Well, absolutely. And the thing that I would remind everyone listening is that unlike some of the petrochemical and petroleum-based synthetic products that are made, the truth is that we start off with a waste material. The definition of recycle is to make something useful out of waste material. So without a doubt, it starts off as a waste material, and the tanner's role is to reside at the end of our food chain, because we are completely controlled by the global demand for beef, and take these hides off the doorsteps of the world every day and scientifically preserve it, because it's a big science experiment to preserve it, and then artistically transform it into what I call functional, lasting luxury. So there's no story out there like it. It's a true story. If you look at the definition of conservation, it's the prevention of a wasteful use of a resource. In my opinion, it's good conservation to use these hides. It's a renewable resource, one that can be replenished naturally. There's a global demand for beef now that exceeds the demand for hides. There's 7 billion plus people in the world. There's going to be 9 billion in 15 or 20 years. 70% of the world's population eat meat. That behavior is not going away. Even if it were to be cut in half, there's still an extraordinary amount of hides that are available. So we should use what is put in front of us. And I would say, that our company works with tannery partners all over the world, and all in Europe and Italy and Spain and Germany and France, in Thailand and India and New Zealand and South America, here in the United States. The modern tanner is a highly compliant, transparent tanner who understands that he has to be a good environmental citizen. He has to be a good steward to his environment. He has to work with local municipalities in a very collaborative way. It's not, it is an industrious process, but it is a process committed to transparency and continuous improvement. So I just think that it's important for people to know that. No one's waking up today saying, I really want to open up a tannery. So the tannery market is shrinking. The tanners are shrinking. And so, but the ones that are staying are modernizing and are the kind of people you want to do business with.
Absolutely beautifully said the entire story. I truly appreciate that, your insight and experience into this. And as you said, no one is waking up, I'm going to become a tanner, I'm going to open up a tannery these days, and we're losing the ones, that are already established themselves, unfortunately. I heard last week in one of the podcasts I was recording here with Sustainable Leather Foundation out of UK, the school in Northampton is kind of in danger. They are uh, lacking the student enrollment, and they're considering is it even manageable to go forward with this program, which is the best leather tanning program in the world. I want to make this call to people, like, if you're really trying to figure out like what are you going to do with your life and you like the crafts, look at it. Like, leather tanning is an insanely fun process, career, and it is so satisfactory to see that rawhide turning into that beautiful and long-lasting luxury. It's addictive, and it's really well paying when you're good at it. Like, leather is a profitable business once you learn your job. I think it's enjoyable, it's fun, and it's very rewarding. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, people are not looking at it because there's a lot more sexier jobs out there now: consulting, finance, IT, coding, and this industry is kind of losing interest.
Well, what I would say is, just from my own experience, is that I was an English major in college. After I graduated, I went to work for a bank. I was a commercial lender for 3 years in North and South Carolina, and I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And so Don Giles hired me at Moore and Giles in 1990. I really had no idea what they did. I didn't really know anything about leather. So I say all that to say that 33 years later, I never imagined I would develop such an interest and a passion for this very unique material that we have. The possibilities of it are endless, and it's just an amazing material to work with. My good friend Bill Amberg in London, who's a great leatherman in London, has a great outfit there. Says it's a material that rewards the curious, the patient, and the passionate. And so we have spent the better
That's
part
it.
of our lives in those tanneries, um, working with technicians. If you're willing to sit around and see what you can do with the milling it longer, ironing it longer, mixing the wax and the oil, doing all kinds of things. It's a lot like cooking. You can take the
Very much so.
recipe that's given to you and follow it, or you can mix it up and try and add that little 15-20% extra to it. And I think that's what I would say that we as a company do, and what we enjoy doing.
That's perfectly said, all of those. And since we mentioned that tanneries are closing up, this is, I think, the best example could be US to this. You said Herman Oaks is one of the tanneries, still going strong in US. Horween is one of them. There's a few in Milwaukee. I think some more in Kentucky, around Louisville area.
Yep.
Um, so can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how many tanneries left in US? Why? And or how it changed over the history, and why is it?
Well, there's not very many, and the ones that are here are great ones. I mean, Horween and Herman Oak would be, I think, two giants of American tanning. Still run by the families that started them, 100 years ago. They are they're just good people. But your question is that I don't think there was a lot of will, you know, 30, 40 years ago to meet the high bar of environmental compliance that you need to meet. The reality is you can meet it, because
Yeah,
the criteria in Europe are just as high, if not higher.
right.
And they meet them, and that's changing every year, and the bar gets higher every year. You know, we're most of us are all members of Leather Working Group, which is a sort of an auditing company that goes around and is committed to continuous improvement and going in as a sort of a third party and taking a look at tannery practices and water usage and things like that, and how we can do things better and better. And so most everybody we work with is LWG certified. Many of them gold rated. So a lot of good things happening there. If you've not looked at Leather Naturally, we're a member there as well. I think I've seen you on there before, also, and I think they're doing a lot to promote the benefits of leather and the many great qualities that it has.
Absolutely. Great organizations, and there's ever growing mindset in tannery industry to self audit themselves, because a lot of people mention tanning could be an environmentally harmful process. Yes, it could be if you don't take any of those measures. And sometimes maybe in developing countries, these measures are not in place, and some smaller tanners might be not doing the perfect job. But established tanneries, the brand names, especially the ones in US, the ones in Europe, they're subject to a very, very high bar in a lot of things. They're being
Absolutely.
checked by governments and by internal industry organizations like LWG, the Sustainable Leather Foundation, Leather Naturally. There's so many efforts to push this bar to the next level to make leather ever less harmful. Regardless what you're manufacturing, you're making an impact somehow. But how
Yep.
we can get better and reduce it to make something durable while making the minimum impact on the earth. So those are the great aspects I would like to mention and remind people every time, because unfortunately it's not talked as often as some of the plastic counterparts blaming leather with false claims. Those are a lot more popular these days. So we like to mention these to gain some momentum in the mainstream media to the truth about leather.
Yeah, I just think I would just share my experience. We're only interested in working with great partners. Certainly, as you said, it's an industrious process. It's not perfect, but it is an industry committed to continuous improvement, committed to transparency. And I'll give you a great example of our friends up near Hanover, Germany, at Heller Leather. The water coming into the tannery now needs to be just as clean going out before it goes to the municipality. All of these tanneries have modern effluent programs to process the water and clean it. This one in particular is the only tanner I know of that is allowed to release their water back into the river, and they have a 24/7 open door policy to come and check their water by municipalities, by student field trips, different administrators. And so that's the type of people we're dealing with now, who you can't not be a backroom operator in China or Europe, the U.S., and not be a good environmental citizen.
Uh,
Just it's impossible. You think about many of these. Water is an important ingredient in leather. It's maybe one of the most important. And we're looking to how much less water we can use. But many of these tanneries are in small towns with water coming through the center of a town. So you've got to be a good citizen. You've got to be compliant. You've got to work with local municipalities in a very collaborative way. So I just think it's important to really share that because I see these partners that we deal with. I see they are leaders in their industry. They're president of the Italian Leather Association. One of them in Spain, we have a gentleman on the board of the Leather Working Group. They are very good citizens.
Absolutely. Like the ones who made and sustained their size and reputation in the industry, they're exceptionally good. I know the exact tannery you mentioned. I drove by it 2 years ago when I was in Germany in a very small village. I don't think that they might be, their building is the biggest thing around the area.
Yeah.
Uh, and if they do anything polluting or harmful, it will stick out like a sore thumb. It's super small, beautiful village in the middle of nowhere, and they still
Nowhere to hide. No
nowhere to
pun
hide.
intended.
Absolutely nowhere to hide. And I met great people both work there. Still, their families work in the tannery as high executives. They have their own shops there. Leather Fiedler, I don't know, maybe you know them. They're the leather
So
dealers.
I do know them, and I know they're connected with those
They
two
are, yeah.
companies.
Their brother works still in the Heller
Right.
tannery. So great,
Correct.
great people, amazing
Yep.
friends there. So great story. And how about the leathers turning into products? Now you guys do that as well. You have a variety of different categories in your brand, furnitures, bags, as you said. Can you talk about like how that happens, how difficult that part is, what goes into it, and how are you guys managing it?
So let me make sure I understand your question, but what I would say about the leathers we make is that when I started in 1990, you had upholstery leather, shoe leather, accessory leather, and what I've come to learn is that um, the natural leathers, which are really is what we specialize in, are lifestyle leathers. They cross a broad cross section of markets. So what was interesting to us is we sort of went around the world and developed these different natural leathers in Italy and Spain and Thailand and New Zealand and places like that. Um, our footwear roots came back to us, and we because we still had a gentleman here who sold the few footwear manufacturers who were left, and so he was looking at these upholstery leathers and would take them up there, and all of a sudden we just had to side them to send them to to a boot factory or to a shoe factory to make shoes or boots. Same with garments. Maybe it had to be a little lighter in weight, but so I think that they're not confined to a market segment. That they have broad appeal. The right leathers have broad appeal, and so I think that you can wear it, carry it, walk in it, and sit in it, and so that's sort of how I think our leathers are fill a lot of different purposes. Um,
Yes, again, um, that's a great example of showing versatility of leather. How are you guys making the manufacturing? Are you guys making in-house manufacturing, or is it with partners outside in US, in
yeah,
Europe?
Yeah, so we have a manufacturing capability. We have two distribution centers here, and in one of them, about 10 miles from here, we have a manufacturing capability. In fact, we're expanding that. Right now creating an addition to double that, where we make a lot of our prototypes, which is very helpful to us. We make all our prototypes there. We do a lot of any repair work if we have to do repair work. We do a lot of limited runs, a lot of custom bags. We do some belts and things like that. And then we make some things here with like smaller goods, belts and wallets around here. And then in the Dominican Republic, we have a very uh, skilled partner with great leather people, craftsmen, where we're making some of the larger bags. We do have a plan to do more of that domestically over time, but we just have to build that capability out as we grow.
How about international market? Are you guys more targeting in the US market, or you get demand from only US local market or international as well?
I think it's important to sort of say that we sell leather every day, and we have this lifestyle line of sort of a branded product line of bags, accessories, and furniture. So we sell leather. We probably have 3 or 4 million square feet of leather here at any one time that we sell to furniture manufacturers, mainly at the high end. But we also sell to architects and designers for hotels and restaurants and clubs and whatever. And so that business has, reps or full-time employees in every major metropolitan area here domestically, but we also have a partner showroom in London, Paris, Dubai, Hong Kong, um, all over. So we have representation for those markets because, if someone's, building a hotel in China or in Europe, and there's 500 rooms. There's a model room that designer's looking at, and in that room is an opportunity for fabric or wall covering or paint or carpet or leather, and so we're chasing that business all the time. And it's actually that business got crushed during COVID because obviously nobody was traveling and nobody was going anywhere. But now we see that a resurgence in that, which is nice to see.
That's great. So this might be helpful for some audience, a lot of people watching the podcast episodes are into leather. They're doing leather work, leather projects by themselves. So, do you guys have a minimum order quantity, or they can even select one skin from you and then they can order that?
Absolutely. We are here. We exist as a design resource for leather across a broad range of markets, and we are happy with a 10,000 foot order for a hotel or for a furniture manufacturer. But if there is a designer anywhere in this country that needs one hide to cover her clients or his clients' dining room chairs or bar stools, a one-hide order is just as important. So
That's
access to the materials is, I mean, that's the issue with leather is, especially
absolutely.
if you're smaller, is that, when we make a leather, we've got to make basically 100 hides in one drum of one color.
Yeah.
So when you think about, we have multiple product lines here, and some of them have 50, 60 colors in it, and each one of those colors you have to make 100 hides for. It's just not, not everybody can do that. And
No,
so you're able, if you need 364 square feet, will come as close to that number as possible. But you can get that quantity if you need it. And so, um,
that's
anyway,
a great
that's
service. That's why I wanted to mention this because I get inquiries from people through social media and stuff like that. Like, I want to do this small project, cover my couch, but I don't know where to find leather. And when people had the idea, I want to cover the couches with leather, more in the DIY side, I'm talking, if they've never worked with leather, they might be thinking, I can grab any leather and then do that project. Well, any leather may not work, but sources like yourself, if you're carrying a bunch of things that can be upholstery, that can be other stuff too. That's a great place for people to check because 20 years ago, this wasn't an option as tannery businesses were more B2B. You have to order that minimum order quantity, and it's a capital and very hefty organization issue. Now, with all these individuals developing interest to this resource, still having difficulty finding these places that has selection and minimum things they can buy.
Yeah, and so what I would say is that I wouldn't say we're still B2B. So we
Mhm.
primarily work with the trade or reupholstery shops or resellers who do need smaller quantities. We're not really set up for that that
B2C.
B2C business yet, but that's just something we're thinking about
Right.
every day. Because how we create better access to the material is something we talk about a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, it is important to make the industry more inclusive. Okay. And how these designers or people who want to check your products in the B2B side can find your services and products? Like, where should they look? Where should they call?
You can call Moore and Giles directly. You can look at us through the website and request samples. You can request to speak to somebody. We're actually in the midst of a web replatform that will launch in January. The person responsible for that is sitting across the table from me right now, so I'm looking at him to make sure we're on schedule. But yeah, we're doubling down on that. It's going to should be a great experience where you go on and see the leather on furniture in different colors and different ways. So it should be a great tool for us going forward. It's been a good tool for a while, but it's just like anything. You've got to continue to invest in it and refresh it. And so we're looking forward to that in January.
Absolutely. Well, it's exciting to stay on top of the e-commerce. As you said, it's evolving every day, and it's the fastest growing segment in a lot of revenue these businesses see these days. So,
Sure.
good direction. And how about the end customers? W- just to reiterate them, like what they can find under Moore and Giles brand, and where should they go check to purchase your offers?
On the leather side or
Leather
the
products, end
leather
users.
product. So the best way to is certainly online, but we do deal with smaller boutique stores around the country on a wholesale level. We're not at big retail, but you could see it at BD Jeffries in Atlanta or an Oak Hall in Memphis or Nashville. Small high-end stores like that, that do a great job of carrying our product. That would be, where we are right now. But really the best thing to do would go online and see the broad array of products we have on both the furniture side and on the accessory side and on the bag side. And there's, the bag side is growing. It started off primarily as a men's line. Um, it's got a great combination of male and female silhouettes now that are doing well.
That's awesome. Great to hear. We're gonna include the website link. Is there any social media pages or anything we you might wanna say we can give a handle?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, all the social channels.
Okay.
Um, please follow us. So
We
we're out and about. Okay.
we will definitely.
We'll give you all the links for those.
Yeah, that would be perfect. We're gonna put the links to your social profile so people can check, follow you to see new design and upcoming products. Obviously, you guys are in it with the passion of leather and making something beautiful and durable out of this great material with responsible feelings, just saving those hides in Virginia that were otherwise going to trash, now being a luxury product for someone to carry around in decades. So it's a great service. I absolutely thank you for what you guys doing as a company, and thanks for being here and sharing your experience and thoughts here.
It's really my pleasure. I would like to just add one more thing because I
Absolutely.
think it's important that your listeners know that there's a lot of innovation in tanning now. I think people know that the two primary methods of tanning are vegetable tanning, which is sort of the ancient way of tanning, and then chrome tanning, which is the modern form of tanning, which happens to be about 150 years old. Chrome is really the salt of chrome. Chrome is a mineral. We have it in our bodies, um, but it's been around for about 150 years, and it's a very safe, effective form of tanning. Chrome's not a word people like to use a lot, but it is a very viable tanning method. However, there's a lot going on. Anything that's been around for that long is ripe for a little disruption. And I would want to call out to your attention um, Olivenleder out of Germany, which is an olive tanning formula that we sort of partnered with them in early 2016. And really, just for your listeners, it's taking the leaves of fallen olive trees in the Mediterranean, which are abundant. They're normally burned or discarded, and we are taking those leaves to a food certified lab. They brew it like a tea and then condense it into a syrup, and then that syrup becomes the plant tannin that's used to tan the leather. So you get this really unique story of a byproduct tanning the byproduct. There you go. Those are the leaves. You're
I,
very
I I
familiar with it, right?
drank I drank the tannin agent they make,
Yeah,
olive and leather. Actually, it was another podcast episode. We had the Thomas in
Thomas.
Germany, yeah.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
drank it like cheers and drank the tanning agent they made out of these leaves. He sent me those from Germany. These are the leaves they
yeah.
use. And I think I
Excellent.
still have the thing as well. It's here. Um, this this syrup basically is a tanning agent made out of it. You can even drink it. So definitely it's an innovation on top of chrome. I tanned leather with chrome for over a decade. I wouldn't drink
Yeah,
that. I love my life.
yeah.
But this one I drank and it's safe.
Yeah, doesn't taste good, but you can definitely drink it. It's made in a food certified lab. And what I would say about it is that we're making beautiful leather with it. It took us a little while, but we're making beautiful leather from the Omega Tannery in Spain, and we're looking at other places to do it. So there you go. Omega is one of our great partners for since really 1995. They're the ones that made that first leather that we came out with. And that's what I would say is that our relationships are 25 and 30 years old with these tanneries, with the right tanneries who
Absolutely.
appreciate the artistic endeavor that leather can be. So, yeah,
Great, great
small world.
point you brought up, who appreciates the artistic side of tannery, yet still keep innovating, making things like this to make it more sustainable, more environmental friendly, and it's still beautiful. I was very curious how the end product will be when I talked to Thomas, and then he connected me a bunch of partners doing this. There's a few in Europe. Omega was the one that hit me, and I got their swatches. I'm actually experimenting with some of their leathers as well. It's beautiful, smells different, distinct, but so
Yeah,
so
it has a very earthy smell to it, but it's a different smell, but it's a good smell.
absolutely.
Um, I don't want to not get off with you today without just talking about synthetic or vegan leather. And I just would like to say that I have no problem with it, but vegan leather is not leather. Leather, by definition, is the skin of an animal that has been tanned. And so vegan leather, faux leather, pleather, other types of, they are not leather. And I think we're, as an industry, have to call that out. It doesn't mean that, they can do what they do, but I think you have to ask yourself, why do they use our name? And that is because leather has meaning as a credible material in a broad range of markets. And I often say to our, in the design world, when their products show up in Elle Decor or House Beautiful or Architectural Digest, wherever it is, when the editors write about their projects, I hear them talk about the leather in the lobby, the leather on the headboard, the leather. It elevates a project. There's a place for leather in every place in the home, whether it's a supporting actor or a lead actor. You can do so many things with it in your kitchen, in your library, in your bedroom, in your living room. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be leather was 30 years was in the your sofa love seat and ottoman in the living room, but the styles of leather for leather are better, and fabric is in many cases leather's friend and how they work together on different styles and different places. So I think the last thing I'd say is that I think my hope for this industry is that young people in design school now, I think, understand this story of leather better than ever when you tell it to them. Right. When you talk about the byproduct, you talk about recycle, and you talk about that there's 300 plus million hides available annually to be tanned. And to do nothing with these, it would be irresponsible. Honestly, only about maybe 60% globally make it to the value chain. So
Absolutely.
we've got work. So if anybody wants to say that these animals are being used for their skins, it's just rubbish. What we need to do is figure out how to use more skins. We often say that if leather had never been invented 1,000 years ago, or thousands of years ago, that some brilliant person would have to go into a landfill and pull one hide out and say, my goodness, what can we do with this? Right. So because it's sort of ubiquitous in society and it is everywhere, people assume that it just exists on its own, but it's really here because of the global demand for beef. And so I know I probably have said it a couple times today, but I just know I take every opportunity I can to speak to design students, because more often than not, they don't teach leather in design schools. And I've spoken to in New York and in High Point to students. And when you tell the story, the true story of leather, their eyes light up and they understand it better for what it is. And so I think we have a responsibility to keep telling that story and to use the hides that are available, because it's right there for us. And I think there's never a better time to use leather than now.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. I wanted to ask that. I forgot the vegan leather approach. But the the thing is, like, 60% of the hides we're leveraging now, 40% going to waste, which means all those leathers not used, creating these plastic materials coming in, alternative fabrics, which they always put the leather name in it, PU leather, P leather,
Yeah.
vegan leather, faux leather, which none of it leather, but to make it confusing, deceptive. I've seen people coming to me, it's like, oh, I thought vegan leather was leather. Like, it cannot be, it's an oxymoron. Vegan, anything vegan cannot be leather. Anything leather cannot be vegan. So I don't know why that word exists. They should call it something else. Just to make it clear, if it's an
Yeah.
honest effort.
Yeah. Totally agree. I mean, I think that it's just important that people understand that, for anybody who has any issues with leather, the simple question is, what should we do? What should we do with the hides? Because they exist. They're not going anywhere. They're
Right,
going to be here for the next 1,000 years.
right,
And so, why isn't it better to do something rather than nothing?
yeah,
And doing something with good partners who care about the environment, who care about being good citizens in their communities. It seems to be a very viable solution to deal with a waste material as opposed to throwing it away.
right,
And so we need to use more leather and create access for these hides, do a better job of creating access to get the hides. I mean, the Seven Hills example is it's not so easy to get 100 hides to St. Louis as opposed to, getting a container of 500 hides or 600 hides and
right.
getting it there. So there's challenges, but there's opportunity there too.
Absolutely, but it's worth it. And as you said, this story is not told enough. It doesn't make its way to the mainstream media, unfortunately, with larger companies getting on board with this, vegan leather claims and the false PR campaign run against leather. I'm thinking it's probably by oil industry or plastic lobby, um, trying to be louder about these lies. So we gotta tell more, show more, why leather was one of the first form of upcycled materials, just taking the trash and then making something durable, beautiful out of it. And we just take it for granted now. And unfortunately, leather industry didn't do a great job telling this story so far, making it, well-known fact in all of us in social conscious. Unfortunately, now we're trying to fight with these false claims in the after fact, but trying our
Well,
best.
yeah, well, what I would just add to that in the performance material is a big word in the fabric world, but leather's the original performance material.
Yeah,
I mean, when early humans, you know, came out and began to roam, they needed something to put on their feet, they needed something to wear, they needed something to clothe themselves, to shelter themselves, to protect themselves from their enemies. All that was the hide.
yeah,
And so I often make the connection that the same thing that made leather essential to early humans is the same thing that makes it a luxury material today, that it's breathable, it's durable, it's soft, that it wears in beautifully over time. So those two things come together, I think, in a beautiful way.
absolutely. Beautiful. Well said. Well, thank you for sharing all your experience with us here. Again, it was a pleasure to knowing you. We will stay in touch. And
Yeah,
probably I should give one of your products at some point and make
we
a
can make that happen for you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'd love to share one with you. And if you're ever up our way in Virginia, please come and see us. We'd love to show you what we're doing. And thank you again for what you're doing.
Appreciate it. I'm honored. I will definitely keep that in mind and I will visit. I'm just a leather junkie traveling around. I love traveling. I love talking leather with different people in different parts of the world. I will definitely make my way to visit you guys' facility there.
That sounds great.
All
Thanks
right.
again. Thanks for having me, and we appreciate your interest in us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.